Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, a look around the fairgrounds at what this year's Green River Festival is bringing us, with the head person in charge of those things, John Sanders of DSP Shows.
And we'll hear about a brand new effort to diminish food insecurity with school counselor Taryn Canfield at Franklin County Technical School.
But first, you might have noticed that we haven't heard from Congressman Jim McGovern for a few weeks.
And there's a really good reason for that.
It's the return of our weekly check-in with U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, Worcester's own Congressman Jim McGovern. As many of our listeners know, and as many of your constituents know, just a couple weeks ago, Congressman, you lost your 23-year-old daughter, Molly, who I was lucky enough to get to meet several times over the course of knowing you. There was beautiful ceremonies in Worcester at your family's church, both the wake and the funeral, attended by dignitaries like former President Clinton and Nancy Pelosi. And your wife and your son's eulogies were so powerful and wonderful and funny all at the same time. And the real standout line to me that you said that day, Congressman, is losing a child is cruel. And as much as I want to crawl into a hole and disappear, I got to be Molly's dad, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. That was a really powerful reflection on love and loss. Before we launch into the banal of politics in Washington, D.C., anything you would like to add to this? And again, I extend condolences from so many listeners who reached out to me, so many colleagues who reached out to me to say, please tell him that our hearts are with him and his family.
Well, first of all, thank you to you for your friendship and to so many of your listeners who, sent us texts and cards and so many warm wishes. I meant what I said. It is cruel. It is hard. But there is comfort in knowing that people care. And, Molly, as you recall, was kind of a mischievous, a little bit wild, but loving human being who was always stood with the underdog, who cared about justice, and, who was horrified by the ugliness of so much of what is happening all around the world. And I think, she would want me anyway, to continue to fight for good things and to try to make the world a better place. A group of friends have gotten together and they were trying to figure out a way to pay tribute and to honor Molly, and they came up with this kindness project. My wife has been putting it out on her social media. I'm going to do it on mine as well. But basically saying, we're not asking people to do anything in specific other than to be kind to somebody. And whether that means buying the person behind you a cup of coffee, or volunteering, or just, helping somebody cross the street, whatever it is. But I mean, if we could, all try to do at least something that reflects kindness and humanity, that's the best way to honor her. And, but it's hard. There isn't a second that goes by that I don't think about her. So, but I thank you. I thank everybody.
Now to the banal, the politics that seem so inconsequential in the grand scheme of things in light of what you have gone through over the last couple weeks. However, in Worcester, in your hometown last week, it was a national news story with an ICE raid where the community got involved, where people were arrested for protesting, more people arrested just recently at a rally in Worcester, standing up against ICE. What do you know about the situation that happened in Worcester? And I know you had gone to Louisiana with a delegation to meet the Tufts student, Rumeisa Ozturk, who was disappeared from the streets of Somerville and brought down there, who's now subsequently been released back. But tell us what you know about the ICE raids in Worcester and the protesters who were also swept up in this.
We went to Louisiana to the detention centers. We also met with the Columbia University student as well. Look, I am obviously not a fan of ICE. I think what this administration has unleashed is cruel and something that you would expect to see in an authoritarian regime, but not here in the United States. There seems to be this movement toward denying people due process and to the surprise arrests that terrorize the entire community. Just to be totally honest, I've been kind of out of it for the last couple of weeks, and so I'm still trying to get all the details about what happened in Worcester. And it's like with everything, it's a little bit more complicated. But I think one of the things the city needs to do, and I've talked to the mayor and the city manager, is I think it's important for the city to be clear on what is its policy toward ICE. I mean, what is the responsibility of the school department? What is the responsibility of the police department? And again, the person that was apprehended apparently has a very complicated set of circumstances surrounding her. I don't want to get into it because I don't know what's true and what's not. But obviously, I think a lot of people went into this not understanding what their role was, and I think that's with the police. And a lot of people who were protesting, I think, got overly excited and treated the Worcester police as they treated ICE and didn't quite know what the Worcester police response was. Having said all of that, this was not the first time ICE was in Worcester, and it won't be the last time. And so we need a strategy. We need a strategy to let them know that we're not going to cooperate with them, that we don't welcome them there, and people need to know what their rights are. They need to know what the rights of individuals who are being targeted are. And so my hope is in the next couple of weeks that, maybe do a series of town meetings in the city to help not only listen to people, but to actually bring the Attorney General's office, the Governor's office, and others to help clarify what our role should be. It is disturbing, and I've seen some of the videos. I haven't seen them all, and, I'm terribly bothered by it.
Another ICE-related question from listener Lynn Goldman. She wants to know, why are ICE agents wearing masks? They're federal agents. Why are they allowed to wear masks? It reminds me of the Patriot Front, the Boogaloo Boys, the Proud Boys, and Blood Tribe. She'd love to hear your thoughts on this and what actions can be taken to change that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nice policy from high above. I mean, I wish I could, pass a bill in Congress to say that when ICE comes into a community that they, have to show their face and have to show their identification. But this is a decision that the Trump administration is making. And given the nature of who's in charge of Congress here, we're not going to be able to change it. They claim that they're wearing masks for their own protection, so that people can't photograph them and people can't identify them, and therefore people can't do anything to them. That's their claim. The reality is they're doing great harm to our communities. They're causing a great deal of terror and uncertainty. And when somebody comes at you with a mask on, the terror level goes up even more. We have raised these issues with the ICE leadership, and up to this point, it's fallen on deaf ears.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, yesterday, Congressman, we dedicated the entire show to local organizations who have been impacted by these unexpected federal cuts, mostly at the hands of DOGE, as well as some of the potential cuts forthcoming in the proposed budget. All of the papers of late and pollsters are wondering, has this DOGE been neutered? It's seeming like the way that DOGE has been operating has not been popular and may be clawed back. In late April, there was a threat of a rescission package that would have gone through Congress to do what DOGE has been trying to do and what executive orders have been trying to do, including claw back $9 billion in funding already out there, which would have included money for NPR and PBS, full disclosure. There's also the GOP so-called mega bill, which could codify some of these DOGE cuts. That also looks like it is potentially stalled. We also seem to have found out that I think you, Congressman, in the 2nd Congressional District are tied for the third most DOGE cuts in the country. Is this true to your knowledge? And where do we stand with how DOGE and the way things have been going is being perceived by your Republican colleagues now that it's been a few months?
I don't know whether we're the third most targeted district or not, but I will certainly look into that.
It looks like, according to the AmericanProgress.org map, that the 2nd Congressional District has 55 cuts. There's another district in Massachusetts that also has 55 cuts. There's one tiny district in North Carolina under Valerie Fauché who has 121 cuts. That is the number one.
Look, I don't know how much of this is retaliation or politics or what, but I think much of what DOGE is doing is unconstitutional. Again, when Congress appropriates money, that's our job. The administration's job is to spend it. If you think we're appropriating too much, then you come to Congress and say, don't appropriate that amount in the future, appropriate less, and then they will spend less. I mean, that's the way this is supposed to work. And I think the courts will reverse much of what DOGE has done. As we speak, I mean, I was up, really late last night and the night before in the Agriculture Committee because they're trying to prepare the agriculture section for the reconciliation package, which is coming up next week, which contains deep cuts in Medicaid, and then the ag part of the bill, deep cuts in SNAP. The biggest cut in SNAP in the history of the program, $312 billion. This was done without any hearings and without any due process or analysis or anything. It was just thrown on us 24 hours before we met in committee. And the Republicans on the committee, most of them, I would say the 90% of them, chose not to even show up during the markup until the end when they had a vote because they didn't. I think they're so embarrassed and so horrified by the cuts, they don't want to be associated with them. But they all voted for them last night. And this package will then come to the Rules Committee along with the other parts of reconciliation on Monday. And then it will come to the floor on Tuesday or Wednesday. The Republicans, the big change in this is that most of the deep cuts won't take place until 2028, until after the election, because they don't want to have a backlash. And I think people just need to understand the cynical game that they're playing. I mean, they're gutting the heart and soul of our social safety net, and they're doing it in a way where they can avoid accountability. I've never seen anything so cynical or rotten in my life. And as I said, with regard to their cuts and snap, it's going to impact everybody. They're saying they're going to force the states, if you don't want cuts, that they need to make up the difference. But in the chairman of the committee is from Pennsylvania. That would mean that Pennsylvania would have to pay $1 billion more a year in its state budget in order to make sure that people in Pennsylvania don't get their SNAP benefits cut. And it's hundreds of millions in Massachusetts. And we all know that states can't do that. So what does that mean? Benefits will be cut. And the average SNAP benefit right now is about $2 per person per meal, $6 a day. And they got to cut that to pay for a tax cut for billionaires and millionaires. It's unconscionable and it's immoral. And there's a special place in hell for people who want to take food away from hungry people, in my opinion.
You did mention this, that the Politico headline has explained it: perks now, pain later. It goes to spell out 12 ways that Trump's mega bill pushes trade-offs beyond the next election day. It seems that in some states, some GOP members are also very critical about this delay of the so-called pain, the actual practical implications of what it would mean to individuals. Pushing it back, it's almost like putting it on credit. How feasible is this bill?
On every major bill that the Republicans have put forward since they've taken control and since Trump has won, we go through this period where, we have some individuals that gripe and, say that they don't want this to be cut or that to be cut. And then you even have some of the right wingers say, well, you're not cutting deep enough or you're not cutting quick enough. And, we go through this kind of dance. And then at the end of the day, Trump and Elon Musk call and say, you got to do this. And if you do it, we'll give you money to help you get reelected. And if you don't, then we might look for an opponent. And so they always cave. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. But for the moderates, for people who represent, districts, where they barely won, I mean, how do you go back home and tell people that you're cutting people's health care, that you're cutting people's food benefits, that you're increasing hunger, that you're cutting essential monies to help communities make ends meet? I don't know how you do that with a straight face and tell your constituents that you're on their side. This is the most corrupt administration in history. These guys make Richard Nixon look like Ralph Nader. I mean, you see what's going on. Everything with Trump is about money and money for him and his friends. He's in Saudi Arabia talking to the leader of that country who's ordered the killings of American journalists, who has provided cover for people who attacked this country on 9/11. And Qatar is talking about giving him this plane that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and he wants to take it, and he thinks it's a good deal. But this is all about him and his friends and his family. It is not about regular people. At some point, some of his supporters, I hope, will come to realize that he doesn't care about you unless you can help him financially. This is corruption through and through. If Joe Biden did this, or if Barack Obama did this, if George W. Bush did this, Republicans would be up in arms. The country would be up in arms. And for whatever reason, we have this attitude where, it's awful, it's rotten, it's corrupt, but it's just Trump, so whatever. Well, you know what? That is not an acceptable response, because so much is at stake. Our democracy is at stake. We have a man right now who's in the White House who's selling this country out, who's enriching himself, and he's screwing regular people, who depend on government to be able to get by.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, salt is getting in the way of the Republicans' tax bill here, and not the kind of salt that I dump on all of my food that's probably going to give me high blood pressure someday, but the state and local tax, commonly called SALT. Can you talk about how some Republicans, including in New York, may be pushing back on this $1 trillion tax bill? And for people that do not like where the budget is going, it could be these sort of New York Republicans who may tilt things more towards the Democratic side.
That's assuming that they have the courage of their convictions. It's not just New York. There are a number of states that are impacted by SALT. But do they actually stand up and say, I'm going to put my constituents ahead of Elon Musk and multi-billionaires? As we speak right now, I'm not convinced that they will do that. Yeah, there are lots of issues. SALT is one of them. But even bigger than SALT, quite frankly, for New York and other similar states, is the cuts in Medicaid, is the cuts in SNAP. These are real. These are going to be deep. These are going to devastate these states and the cities and towns, and by the way, especially in rural areas. There's an awful lot here that if you are a moderate Republican, or if you're a Republican that has half a heart, that would compel you to not only vote against what is about to come before the House, but to fight against it. Maybe this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. I mean, last week I lost count of how many Republicans told me, that they thought it was ridiculous and stupid that we were voting on a bill to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. They thought it was insulting to their intelligence and insulting to their constituents. And you know what? Every single one of them voted for it. So I appreciate the quiet affirmation, that this is a stupid idea. But you know what? I'd appreciate even more them taking a stand. And we'll see. Next week, we will see. This is the time for people to be really engaged. And not just with people who you disagree with, but even people who you agree with. We all need to fight harder. And the people who you disagree with, we need to persuade. Institutions are not going to save this country. People are going to save this country. And these are really, really perilous times. I'm confident we're up for the challenge and we will get through this, but we can't rest.
Congressman McGovern, I always have been ending our conversations in 2025 with this question. What is giving you hope this week?
What's giving me hope this week is that, and as I began, I talked about, the many people who have extended their well wishes to me and Lisa and Patrick during this difficult time. But, many of them have showed their kindnesses by supporting our local food banks, by supporting anti-cancer foundations, by just doing good things. There are a lot of good people in our community, and it's not only been of comfort to us, but it just reminds me that, even though the world seems kind of messed up right now, there's just a lot of good people, and we can figure this out. We can get through it. It's been a difficult few weeks, so it's going to be a difficult time ahead, but it's just nice to know that there are good people. That's my hopeful note for the week.
U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, Congressman Jim McGovern, joins us every week, McGoverning with McGovern. If you've got a question for the Congressman, you can send it our way, and I'll ask it on your behalf. thefab413@nepm.org.
It's great to be with you. I'll talk to you soon.
And again, our condolences to the McGovern family at this time. We're with you.
Later in the show, a bird's eye view of the over 40 artists, vendors, and happenings that will be a part of this year's Green River Festival.
And up next, we look at an issue close to the Congressman's heart that a local school is addressing on its campus. We head to Franklin County Technical School to learn more about its brand new student-only food pantry.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, helping customers make the switch to solar for savings, energy security, and tax incentives. Learn more at northeast-solar.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Window World of Western Mass, a local family business with experienced craftsmen offering vinyl, composite, and James Hardie siding. windowworldofwesternma.com.
We're suckers for good food security stories.
I mean, especially when it involves young people getting food security, because they are our future. What future we're handing them is in question.
And especially when it's in my town, despite the fact that you have to drive from the town I usually drive to come to this town to cover. Yeah.
It's okay. It's good to flip the script sometimes.
Yeah. But we're at Franklin County Technical School here in the Turners Falls Industrial Park. What's your name?
Taryn Canfield.
Taryn, what do you do?
I am a school counselor here.
There has been some nuance and change in language for people like Khalees and I who went to school in the 1900s. School counselor is what they used to call guidance counselor?
Correct.
Why did that change?
I think our role has changed over time, so we don't have a one-size-fits-all role anymore.
Because one of those roles might be finding a need with the student population that you're working with and meeting that need by creating what?
A food pantry, yay!
Sort of yay!
But also, oh no!
Yeah.
Yay in terms of access. It's tough that we need to meet this need, but I'm happy to meet this need.
So tell us what brought this to your attention.
I would say over the past year and a half, more students have been coming to me and expressing a need both for food at home and additional food throughout the school day. So we do have free breakfast and lunch that started during COVID. It will continue through the end of this school year and all of next school year. But kids are here for an entire school day. If they have sports, the last meal they have might be 11, 12 o'clock, and then they don't have access to food until they get home. So
And also sports takes a lot of energy to make you run around.
Not to mention that adolescence is the time when you need the most calories because your body's just growing a lot.
Yeah, you're burning all those calories all the time.
And we're at at a vocational high school, so these kids are not at a traditional high school where they are just sitting in classes all day. They're up, they're moving, they're doing projects around the school, so they're really exerting a lot of energy.
A brief aside, what are some of the different programs that kids are learning about at Franklin County Tech?
So we have everything from aviation mechanics to advanced
There's an
manufacturing.
airport right here.
Yes.
That is the coolest. It's like, what do you mean I could have just in high school learned how to work on airplanes? Who would say no to this?
So everything from auto tech, collision repair, culinary arts, carpentry, electrical, welding. I'm going to miss some, but
I walked by cosmetology because I saw all the old Barbie heads. Remember those, paint Barbie's face? Barbie makeup fun. I love that.
Pretty much anything, if you have a student that's interested in coming here, there's going to be something that fits what they're looking for and can help set them up for a really great career.
We've talked about food security issues an awful lot on this show and have done a lot of work with the Food Bank of Western Mass. And one of the things that I've learned specifically from Congressman Jim McGovern, who's a big advocate for fighting food insecurity, is the kids on Monday morning oftentimes don't have access to food all weekend. And when their meals are being supplemented in school, school is one of the best places for kids to get enough to eat. And still there was a need.
Correct. And I think one of the things when we were starting this food pantry was, yes, there's access to food pantries, of course, in the community in different areas, but this breaks down some of the barriers. Students are already here. They don't have to find transportation to get to a food pantry. They don't have to worry about transporting it home if they're taking a bus. That kind of breaks down some of those barriers for some of our kids.
And if they're part of larger families, they don't necessarily have to share either. They can just get food for themselves.
Correct. And if they do want to bring home food to cook a meal that night, they're able to. It's available every single school day, school hours. So whatever they need, they just let their counselor know and I can make it happen.
As far as we know, thanks to our friend Mike Reardon over here, who's publicity for Franklin County Tech, this is the only food pantry of its kind at a school in our area.
At a high school in Franklin County, yes, we are the first. There is another pantry, I believe, at Swift River Elementary.
Tell me about the genesis of this idea.
I had this idea, like I said, a year and a half ago, and I didn't really know where to start the process. So I got approval from our administration here, who has been very supportive and on board with this idea. And then I kind of did some research and ended up reaching out to the Food Bank of Western Mass. So I've been working really closely with Kate Poussant Scarborough, who is amazing. And she has walked me through every single step from the application process to securing our 501c3 sponsor, which is the Brick House Community Resource Center.
Oh, cool.
Thank you to them. Woohoo!
Yeah. Who just lost some AmeriCorps funding.
So this whole process, she's been super helpful with, and takes a little while to do all the paperwork, but now we're successfully up and running. We opened on Friday, May 9th, so just a few days ago, and we've already had a handful of kids accessing it. So not happy that we have this need, but happy to meet the need.
Yeah. How do the kids access it?
We are a little bit different than other food pantries. In my conversations with Kate from the food bank, we have two ways to access us. So one of the ways is if a student is needing an extra food item during the day, they can go to the guidance office or the nurse's office and get a supplemental food item for the day.
I went into your office and there's a little rack of little snacks.
Yep. So think granola bars, trail mix, things like that. Grab and go items that are individually packaged. A kid can check off that they were there, take it, and go about their day. The second way is if a student is looking for pantry staples, think pasta sauce, tuna, macaroni and cheese, oatmeal, granola bars, things like that. Things to take home. They can let their counselor know, and then I can take them back and they can pick out what they're looking for in terms of preference and then take that home. And there's no limit to how many times they can access us. It's all confidential in order to maintain our partnership with the food bank and to grow our program and funding and all of that. There are a few questions that they have to answer. We just need to know how many kids 0 to 17 live in their house, adults 18 to 64, how many seniors, so 65 and up, have they accessed the pantry since October 2024, and have they accessed this pantry this month. If the student does not do it, I know them, so I can check it off for them, and then we report those stats to the food bank every month, but it is confidential. There's no names, there's no birthday, there's no address. So.
But the data about food security
Correct.
is going to the food bank so that they can help continue to assess the food security need of places up in the 4 counties. Right?
Yes, but just to ensure that people understand that this is a confidential resource.
Because you have a partner nonprofit in the Brick House, and because you're working with the food bank, which is a nonprofit, are there efforts afoot to try to either raise money or food for this food pantry?
Yes, so we are able to accept both monetary and food items. We just got this up and running. I would love for there to be a campaign, and we can work with Mike hopefully on that to source some donations because items through the food bank, some of them are free to us, some of them are at a small cost. So in order to best serve our students, I would like to be able to source some funds to meet that need.
Taryn Canfield being a perfect last name for somebody who has started a food pantry. What's your vision going forward in the future for this food pantry here?
I would like to expand. We have a small space right now. I want to get the word out. We're just starting, so I want this to be something that's known in the community. Yes, it's only open to our students, but we have 640 students. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of kids and a lot of families that will have access to this. So
from 19 towns in Franklin County.
Yes. So I want to get the word out about all of that. I would love for people to see this as a really great and supportive thing because that's what we aim to do here. We want everyone to feel included. We want people to feel supported. And at the end of the day, kids cannot learn if they are hungry. Mm-hmm. I know I can speak for myself when I say if I'm hungry, I'm having a hard time paying attention. So if we can do this for our kids, we're going to set them up for success.
I know you just started this, but what does the summer look like for the pantry?
That is a really wonderful question. So I have not come up with an exact summer plan. I'm going to be working with administration to figure out if we can have specific days of the week when they are here that the pantry could be open if a student could come in. But I absolutely don't want access to be cut off in the summer because if anything, they need it more. They're not here having breakfast and lunch. So to be determined.
Mm-hmm. You have a culinary program here and a restaurant. Mm-hmm. Is there hopes in the future that these issues surrounding food could be incorporated into maybe some sort of educational realm as well, learning about food insecurity?
That would be amazing, and I think the more that we can partner with people in our community and with our programs, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They have extra sometimes at the restaurant, so pass that off to the pantry and have ready-made stuff for people to pick up and leave.
Yep, and Khalees, that's a really good point. We do have a small bin in the cafeteria where if a student doesn't want a snack or an item from their lunch, they can leave that in the bin, and then that's available for students. Not pantry related, but pantry adjacent.
Food sharing. It's great.
Yeah.
Can we go look at the pantry?
Absolutely.
As small as it is at the moment?
Absolutely.
Small but mighty.
Walking past the library.
Sorry to interrupt.
So much water.
Excuse us.
Ready?
Ready.
This is our pantry as of right now.
It's small.
It's very small, but 3 shelves, all secured to the wall, filled with lots of amazing goods so far.
Real good, easy stuff to pick up, like rice packets and peanut butter. And honestly, I'm real impressed that there's collard greens here.
Canned collard greens.
But still.
Quaker natural oats, mac and cheese.
Chicken salad and tuna salad with crackers, a nice little to-go option.
Lots of pasta over here, elbow macaroni it looks like. Tons of tuna.
Tons of tuna, tons of rice, pasta sauce, ramen noodles.
But it's stuff that's high in protein and a lot of carbohydrates for energy for kids again, needing lots of calories to move throughout the day.
So I will also say that this is all donation based as of right now. We are working with Food Pantry at the food bank, but we have not had an order yet. So this is all donations.
And when you get an order from the food bank, are you going to go through it a la carte and pick specific things, or how is that going to work?
I will be able to go online and submit an order depending on what our need is for that week or weeks, and then go from there.
Are the donations coming from other students or from the greater community right now?
This is a student donation right here, which was so amazing. The first day that I sent out this email, I sent it out at 7 a.m. I'm an early bird. I have a student come in 45 minutes later, say, "Hey, Miss Canfield, I brought this for you. I saw your email right before I left the house." It was the sweetest thing. So part student donation right now, and then we had a donation from Amy Connolly with Our Lady of Peace Church, and she really brought us a ton of stuff, which was so amazing. Mm-hmm. And she's been a great resource as well.
I'm glad that the student brought Kalamata olives.
There's green chilies in front of it. I'm also proud of that.
Now we're coming out of the closet.
Into somebody else's meeting.
Yeah.
Another thing that I started here a few years ago is the self-care center. So imagine a little cubby system filled with toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, all of those self-care items. So that's a really important thing here too. So access to toiletries, access to food. So I feel like we are really trying to meet all of our students' needs so they can learn the best that they can. Mm-hmm. We have some sneakers and boots and clothes, so if kids need things during the day. So I think that's one thing that we're really good at here is not just looking at one thing. We're looking at the holistic view and the whole kid. try and help them out.
The other thing that we learned that food pantries always need is toiletries and menstrual products. So don't forget to donate those, even though they're seen as a luxury. Let's not get into that. As this program grows, because clearly it's going to grow, you're in like the first week of it, space is always kind of an issue. Where does this get to expand to?
So that is a great question, and part of the thing is any space we use needs to be inspected by the food bank and approved. So we pass our inspection. Yippee. Our school is very limited on space. We've grown a lot. So we are actually in a feasibility study for a new building. Depending on how that goes, there's a lot of different options. There's a lot of different moving parts. So I don't know in terms of space what that would look like because we're pretty much maxed out on the space in this building.
The school year is winding down, and I'm hoping that this will continue into next year, and it looks like it will.
Definitely.
Taryn Canfield, if people want to populate your can field with more canned goods and things for the food pantry, I can't let it go. I can't let it go.
When you say it like that, it sounds so gross.
How do people support this food pantry here at Franklin County Tech that you've helped to create?
You can either call our main phone number or you can email me at tcanfield@fcts.us. You could also just drop things off. They'll get to me. We're just grateful for the community support.
We could drive by the granola place on the way out here and see if they've got any stuff that they can add to your food pantry here. Advocacy.
I really think once we get the word out, things will really start to take off.
And now to hear about copious amounts of live music coming to the Franklin County Fairgrounds in June.
Because live music is good for you, and the Green River Festival may just be the medicine you need. John Sanders of DSP Shows joins us next to tell us more.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering co-op advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
John Sanders from DSP Shows. We are just over a month away from the return of the Green River Festival to the Franklin County Fairgrounds. This is year number 2.
Sophomore year.
For DSP Shows.
This is where you have to declare your real major and start focusing on things.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for it. It's coming at us very fast, and we've got a crew of people working very hard on it, but I'm really excited about it. The music lineup this year is something that I'm really proud of, and I learned a lot last year in my first year doing the festival, and one of those things was it's so much work. And we're gonna work.
Festival is a lot of work.
It's
John
harder.
Sanders, you don't say.
It's not as easy as we thought it was going to be.
I have a picture of you on my phone that I should just send you right now with you with the push broom in the roundhouse at the Franklin County Fairgrounds that I meant to send you to remind you, like, remember how much work this festival is.
It's all hands on deck. But we handled it last year. We got thrown so much.
Oh my. The worst
in terms of
weather in the entirety. I've been to this will be, I think, my 23rd or 4th Green River Festival in a row. And
Last year was the worst weather.
3 shelters in place because of lightning strikes near the stage.
And then a tornado warning all day on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we're due for some good weather this year. I learned it's so hard that I just need to book all the music that I really want to see so that it's worth it for us to go and do this. It's and I think, quite frankly, I think the lineup is incredible this year.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite artists are on there who are having moments at this time as well. And so, I'm a huge Waxahachie and MJ Lenderman fan, and Sunday is going to be incredible. I think the collaborations with some of those artists that are going to happen is going to be something that we'll remember forever. One of my favorite things that happened last year at the festival was when Anais Mitchell joined Fleet Foxes and did the song from Big Red Machine record that I think they'd only done a few times. One time live, I was talking to Anais and I was like, "Are you going to do this song with Robin?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know. I've never really met him before. We only did the show one time." And I was like, "Do you want to do it?" And she said, "Oh, that would be so amazing." And so I had to text the tour manager. I was like, "Anais wants to do this song," and then they did it, and And I sort of thought that it just kind of like wouldn't happen naturally. And when I figured out it wasn't going to, I subtly inserted myself into the process to make sure that happened, because it was something that I just thought would just happen. But it did.
John Sanders, musical matchmaker.
It's all of these things that I didn't really know that when I booked those artists, but they all have this kind of connection. And when it plays out in these really unique ways on a festival, I think those are the magical things that happen at festivals that don't happen in other places.
We're speaking with John Sanders about the Green River Festival. John Sanders from DSP Shows, who just took over the festival for the first time last year and is bringing it back June 20th through 22nd, Franklin County Fairgrounds in Greenfield.
I do have to say that when the initial lineup came out, I was really impressed. And I'm not just talking about the headliners, because everybody at Top Line is people are generally going to know them, but a little bit.
But we should say them. Friday it's Mount
Yes.
Joy. Saturday it's Courtney Barnett and Kevin Morby. And Sunday it's Waxahachie and MJ Lenderman in the Wind.
Yeah, but dig a little bit further, and there's such cool things happening. Teke Teke is coming, Orchestre Tout Puissant Marshal Duchamp, who have such a long name but are just dynamic.
You said it so well.
Well, I've seen them before, so I got a little practice session.
Now you know who can introduce them on the stage.
Perfect.
That list hasn't gone out yet, but I'm up for whatever because I like introducing bands. I just get to wax poetic about how much I love them.
I just get to Waxahachie.
Maybe.
Who else are you excited about, John Sanders?
The Dean's Bean stage is its own space at the festival that has its own vibe, its own culture.
The Dean's Bean's upstage.
Yes, we have jokingly called it that because that's where all the fun dancing happens and all the cool artists from across the globe come and make the party happen.
Nothing against the main stage, but I rarely leave the Dean's Bean stage.
The great thing about the Dean's Bean stage is that it doesn't happen at the same time as the main stage, so you can see both of those things. But Kabaka Pyramid on Friday night is, I believe, the first reggae artist to play the festival since Toots and the Maytals did about 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, wow, nice.
That's one thing that I really wanted to focus on, do a little bit more reggae on Green River, because I think Western Mass has a great history with reggae music, and Kabaka Pyramid is a contemporary artist who is doing roots reggae in a way that I think is just really impactful and really, really amazing. So I'm really excited about that. La Loam on Saturday night as well, the Los Angeles League of Musicians doing their cumbia take on the music of Los Angeles from the 50s and 60s and kind of what that melting pot did. I think that record is really cool. But I love Waxahachie. There was a moment in 2020 when the world shut down and Waxahachie had a new record that came out, and it became the soundtrack of the pandemic for us. And they did, we kind of dove into live streaming, of helping artists kind of promote their live streams back then. And one of those was a Waxahachie live stream of playing the new record. And I watched it with my family, and it was just so beautiful. I love that record so much. And then she did a couple covers at the end, including Light of the Clear Blue Morning by Dolly Parton.
One of my favorite songs.
And at that point, it was we felt maybe we're coming out of the pandemic, because for a while, I didn't know when this was going to happen again, when we were going to do shows again. And it's all I've done for 25 years. And that song at that moment, I was bawling.
Everything's gonna be alright. It's been all wrong. 'Cause I can see the light of a clear blue morning.
Sitting on my couch watching the live stream, bawling, we're gonna do this again soon. And so it's full circle now that she's come back and is gonna headline Green River on Sunday, and I'm so excited about that.
And we're speaking with John Sanders, who is the talent buyer and organizer of the Green River Festival through DSP Shows. And you mentioned, John, that you've been doing music prior to the pandemic for 20 years. You've been doing it since things have opened up again. And we're in a little bit of a renaissance when it comes to live music in the Valley.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 25 years ago this month that I moved to Northampton and started working at the Iron Horse Entertainment Group. And for so long, Northampton punched above its weight as far as the amount of shows that we had and the amount that people came out to those shows and supported those shows. And for a really long time, Northampton was the place that you would play outside of, Boston and New York. There have been some changes in the scene over the last 10, 12 years, and specifically since the pandemic. And Northampton sort of lost a little bit of that when a bunch of venues closed, and so much so that coming out of the pandemic, I didn't think there were going to be any clubs in Western Mass. And now we've got kind of this renaissance with the Iron Horse and with the Drake and with the Shea and with Bombix and the Academy of Music and the series at Treehouse and the Pines Theater and the Green River Festival. And when you add all of those things up and you look at the number of shows that are happening in Western Mass, I don't think even in the heyday of the Iron Horse Entertainment Group, when in the early aughts when we were doing 2 shows a night at the Iron Horse and 2 shows at Pearl Street and the Calvin, I think that there's as much music happening and a diverse range of music happening in the Valley right now than as there has ever been.
The Treehouse series brings another element too, where there's a lot more outdoor music than there's ever been. And again, John Sanders and DSP is behind a lot of these shows.
Yes. All of the ones
Khalees and I are
Treehouse.
so inside baseball, we forget that the general public might not know that the same people that now run Green River are the same people that are bringing all these shows to Treehouse.
Yeah,
as well.
all of the shows at Treehouse. I don't think anybody else books for
I don't
them.
think so either. Yeah.
I mean, in the past, I think it's been 8 shows, 10 shows maybe the most at the Pines or at Mountain Park that I've ever had. We've got 30 shows at Treehouse this summer. They've really leaned into wanting to make that a destination for live music. It's such a great place to see shows, and people love going there. It's really a special place to do stuff, and I feel really lucky to have a space where I can bring all of the music that the Valley wants to hear, and it's a successful series, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to do there with them.
Meanwhile, the Legacy Green River Festival continues. What year are we in right now?
1986. So we are.
Oh, so we're almost 40.
So how are we going to count this? Because we did have a year off
Yeah.
the pandemic. So
Let's count it. We did it. We did the best we could.
Yeah,
with our old alma mater, 93.9
we
we
did
did
the
the Green
review-
River Festival on the air. When we for the entire weekend did live
It was
stuff
the
from Green
review
River.
show,
Yeah.
the review episode of the Green River Festival that weekend.
Are we expecting any changes this year from last year that people might want to know about in advance? We've heard about some of the great acts that are coming. What about just as festival goers? Any FAQ that we need to put out there to people that might want to come?
we're shifting a few things around to try and make the experience better. We've moved the Makers Market into some of the stalls to make it sort of more of a marketplace and taken some of that spot on the main stage line to add some more shade. Other than that, not a whole lot of changes. We were really happy with the layout of the fairgrounds. I love the fairgrounds. They're such great partners for us on this festival. I love that this is a place where the community has been coming to celebrate community for 150 years, and you feel that in that space. And I think it's a really great space for us to spread out, have a lot of room. A lot of the feedback that we get from this festival is that it's easy to attend, and we want to keep it that way and want to keep the experience really great.
Is there local beer this year?
The biggest complaint we got in 2024.
If it was big enough that I heard more than anything else, more than the weather, was the beer.
I think I heard more about the weather, but also heard about the beer.
If that's the biggest complaint, then that's pretty easily fixable, and we did fix that.
Tell us how you fixed it.
We're partnering with Amherst Brewing Company. They're making a Green River IPA for the festival. It's sort of a coalition of local breweries with Amherst Brewing, Berkshire Brewing, 2 Weeks Notice, Brewery at 4 Star Farms, Leadfoot Brewing, Bright Ideas, and Ginger Libation. So there's going to be a whole host of local breweries represented at the festival this year. And for those folks who want to not imbibe but have something nice to drink, Polar Seltzer, a Massachusetts company, is on board as a sponsor as well. So I'd actually like to know your favorite Polar Seltzer flavor as we decide what to carry.
Okay, so they don't make my favorite Polar flavor anymore, and I've been waiting for them to put it back out. And Polar is frankly the best seltzer out there. You opened a whole can of worms you did not.
A Polar
know.
Seltzer can of worms.
I mean,
Gross.
Polar Seltzer is the best. But
I also, shameless plug, love Polar Seltzer.
yeah, if we're going from the regular flavors, the ones that you can get all year round, it's Ginger Mule. It's wonderful by itself. You can put it
concert
with
seltzer.
It's just great. But years ago, in the spring, they put out a cucumber watermelon flavor that I have been chasing.
Chasing like the unicorn flavor that Polar Seltzer also came out with.
That one tastes like Kool-Aid. It
It's
doesn't
weird.
have an.
Not a fan.
It's so generic and strange. But yeah, the cucumber watermelon was their best flavor ever.
Thank you. I think I'm going to send this out to our email list and have people vote on
Bring
what.
back cucumber watermelon.
Polar Seltzer, located just out of the 413 in Worcester.
They're the best. Some people might notice this and leaning into the local thing. Sunday is really locally focused. There's a lot more local bands I feel like playing on Sunday than the other days, which is kind of neat. Was that intentional?
It wasn't intentional, and honestly, you pointing that out to me right now is it's not something that I'm actually like currently aware of, that there's more on Sunday than there are on. I focused on the Roundhouse being a stage where we would showcase a lot of local talent this year, and so we've kind of filled that with a lot of folks,
including us.
Including us.
The Fabulous 413 will be broadcasting live from the Roundhouse on the Friday, June 20th of the festival, between our regular time between 3 and 4.
But just how important can a festival be to the greater community?
And who are we looking forward to seeing on the many stages across the fairgrounds?
We'll find out both of those things with John Sanders of DSP Shows when we come back to explore more of the Green River Festival.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. We're speaking with John Sanders about the Green River Festival. John Sanders from DSP Shows, who just took over the festival for the first time last year and is bringing it back June 20th through 22nd, Franklin County Fairgrounds in Greenfield. John, not only are we lucky in the 413 to have so much access to live music, but it is part of the culture of where we live that these moments of corporate joy happen so frequently.
Corporate joy?
Meaning corporeal, communal
joy.
Not corporate like Polar Seltzer corporate joy.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm sensitive.
Although they can engender that sort of joy by giving us more seltzer.
I'm sensitive to that word only because, we bought the festival and we're seen sometimes as this giant DSP Shows as this corporate entity thing and taking over people from away. And
you're not Live Nation, so it's...
Right. I mean it like people that go to church or people that go to see the Red Sox.
Yeah.
We as the
That's corporate.
Because we're a company of 8 people and we're not this huge behemoth. But, this festival world is pretty small of the people who kind of present these, and I've been connecting with other festival promoters, including Eric, who works on Tree Fort Music Festival in Boise, Idaho. I saw him at a conference in LA a few weeks ago, and we had met for the first time, and he was talking about how in this uncertain time of the current regime, that doing a festival like this in Boise is kind of polarizing to that community, but it brings people together to celebrate their community and brings people who have different life experiences, gives them a voice on a stage. Green River does as well. And I've taken that for granted, that what we do is so important. Like Joan Baez recently said, acts of joy in times of authoritarianism are acts of resistance. And I've been leaning into that and really taking that as inspiration for the work that we do. This is the kind of life that we want. We want to live in a place where we can come together and celebrate with places like the Green River Festival and shows, and where we're lifting up voices of people from diverse backgrounds, from all different life experiences. And I think that in the current political climate, it's important to remember that and to really lean into that. And that's giving me a lot of focus and a lot of helping me keep my head to the grindstone and really control what I can control. Because like so many people, there's so many things that I open the news in the morning and it's making me pull my hair out, and I need to what can I actually control here? And it's keep doing this, keep doing what we're doing. It's important work that we're doing, and celebrating with everyone and being together in community, I think, is super important. So I'm really leaning into that and happy to be able to be a part of that and be a part of this festival and keep it going.
If this temperature for the country continues, international acts has always been a really important part of Green River Festival too. Are you worried about your ability to bring those folks in from outside in the future?
We have not had anything affect the festival this year. It's a concern for sure, and definitely something that we're there are industry lobbyists that are really lobbying to keep the borders open to allow people from other countries to come. I think that it's so important to put different voices on the stage of people who are living different ways. It's how we learn. It's how we learn to be neighbors with each other and to build these bridges with other cultures and really build one community of people.
Khalees, before we let John Sanders go, let's figure out who's some of the people that you're most excited to see on this list, and we'll let John answer too.
Layla McCalla, Illuminati Hotties, because they're wicked fun on stage. Teke Teke Orchestra to Poussin Marcel Duchamp, as I mentioned before. Merce Lemon, who I saw for the first time at Big Ears and really blew my mind. And previous guest of the show, and not just because one of my bandmates is in this band, but Allfields. They're real fun.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Kevin Morby, who I love, but I've never gotten to see live. Kathleen Edwards, who I haven't seen since she retired and then unretired. Mark Mulcahy, local hero, right from here in Springfield, is always a delight. One of the great songwriters of our era, I think.
And Daniel Ponder is amazing live. Will blow your mind live.
John Sanders, I know you knew this is like picking your favorites because you have curated this entire list, but other not to be mists.
Again, yes, I booked all of these bands. I love all of them. Kathleen Edwards is certainly someone who I've been so excited about for so long. I was that 2003 record, Failure, is like an all-time
Such a
record for
good
me.
record.
Saw her at the Iron Horse when that album came out. Devastatingly good.
So good. So excited to have Kathleen Edwards back. Waxahachie just did a cover of 6 O'Clock News that
wow.
I saw on Instagram the other day, and it was like
Uh-oh.
a full circle moment.
You can make a matchmaker moment again.
MJ Lenderman is incredible live. I'm so excited to see him. Future Birds on Sunday as well is going to be super
Yeah.
good. And Balthus on Sunday as well, closing that stage, is going to be really cool Colombian psych rock.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's always a fun time, and it's just a little bit over a month away. It's always cheaper to buy tickets before the days of, so keep that in mind as you process this conversation we've been having with John Sanders from DSP Shows, who's keeping live music alive in the 413 with the Green River Festival Friday through Sunday, June 20th, 22nd, and also that great series of incredible musicians coming to Treehouse throughout the course of the rest of the summer.
And don't forget that if you've got kids under 12, they're still free, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So it's a great festival for kids. More kids should go to concerts so that they can learn how to go to concerts well.
Yeah.
Because I've been real disappointed by the youth these days. It sounds so get off my lawn-ish, but also, like, it's good to get those practices in early.
I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. It's going to be so much fun.
We should also mention that while we will also be doing a live show at the Green River Festival this year, we're going to have some pop-ups too. Last year we had Snack Time. They were amazing 7-piece horn band that is now, they're somebody's. Like,
Are those the
they're
Philadelphia
the live band
76ers, I believe?
No, they're a late night.
Oh, yeah,
band.
that's right. I saw that they were on a late night
Yeah,
show,
they're
too.
somebody's band,
Very
and now
cool.
I can't remember, but they were fantastic.
And we'll try to tell you when the pop-ups are this year at the Green River Festival for sure.
We will indeed, but they'll be at the Memorial Hall Museum exhibit for the Green River Festival, and look out for our announcements about that because it's going to be wicked cool.
On the next Fabulous 413, we check out cinema that explores gentrification, underutilized space, public art, and more.
And is so neat through the documentary Secret Mall Apartment with director Jeremy Workman and artist Michael Townsend, who is one of the artist collective that built a space inside the Providence Place Mall. And that film is going to be showing at Amherst Cinema next week with a talkback with including one of these hosts here. Not me. It's that one.
We'll also have live music for Live Music Friday with Cheap City, who you're listening to right now, who'll hang up their Western Mass hats after one last hurrah at the Marigold Theater this weekend.
And we'll discover a grape that we had never even heard before at Tip Top Wine Shop in East Hampton. And it's spelled differently.
Yes, it's a Pinot, but not the kind of Pinot that you know.
It looks like Agnew.
I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We'll see you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.